House, in addition to a potential stamp that Donald Trump might put on the Senate.
Well, if we consider that, though, Mike Johnson does have a close relationship with Donald Trump by most accounts, Jeannie. So what does his future look like, knowing it may not be clear whether he's going to become a member of the majority, but can he still be a leader either way?
You know, I think if Republicans lose the House, Mike Johnson is going to take a good deal of the blame for that. And so, you know, it's hard for me to believe that he would still be in leadership. I think there will be a struggle for leadership on the Republican side, something we're used to. But that, again, that's if Republicans lose the House. If they retain it, I think Mike Johnson will certainly be the speaker once again. But that's the real question here. And of course, on the Democratic side, we have Hakeem Jeffries, who has really done a very good job for a new leader, consolidating what was the minority. If they become the majority, you know, there are questions there. You know, does he face some of the same difficulties that the Republicans have faced from, in his case, the left side of his flank on issues like Israel, on, you know, those kinds of issues that he has had to walk this line, but it's been easier when he's been in the minority. When he's been in the majority, if he's in the majority, they may be expecting a lot more from him.
You know, Kaylee and Shep reminded us of an important point, and I'm wondering your thoughts on this, Rick. We never saw the protests that were expected and predicted materialize at the DNC. Never saw the attacks on polling places that we expected. We haven't seen violence break out really in any meaningful way before or after this election. It does seem like, as I consider the framing of that question, we're going to be hearing from Donald Trump right now. There you have it, being introduced along with J.D. Vance, his running mate. This is live video and audio from West Palm Beach, Florida, as we bring you to the convention center right now. The podium set up and the American flag. And I'm sure we're going to hear from Lee Greenwood here for a bit, so we might want to let this breathe. This song's got a couple of minutes in it, Rick. Now that we're actually seeing them on stage here, that, by the way, includes the former First Lady, Melania Trump, who has spent very little time on the campaign trail alongside her husband. His sons are with him, along with several other family members and other supporters. He was with Elon Musk and Dana White at the dinner earlier at Mar-a-Lago. Michael Whatley, the chair of the Republican National Committee, who was with us earlier on the broadcast, Kaylee, on the stage as well. Looks like he's not going to wait for this song to complete. Maybe he will. The whole family is coming around behind the podium. Rick, this is an incredibly important moment in Donald Trump's political career. Bill Clinton is apparently no longer the comeback kid.
Yeah, that's right. I think this is going to take that crown. And, you know, we see Barron Trump, first time in the campaign, really participating on stage. But I think, you know, this is the new Camelot, if you really want to stress out and say this is a family that is going to be involved in politics for a long time. I think there were real questions as to what their longevity would be if Donald Trump didn't win tonight, but that is settled. At least we think it's pretty close to being settled. So expect to see and hear from family members, especially Donald J. Trump Jr., who played an instrumental part in recruiting J.D. Vance onto the ticket.
Well, yeah, that's right. As we see both of the sons on the stage, Melania Trump, the former First Lady, looks like on track to be the First Lady once again on the stage, as well as the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, is there, who we were just discussing, Jeannie, in the final moment here before Donald Trump actually decides to speak. He's still soaking it up. What tone do you expect we'll hear?
You know, I think he's going to be, I would think, gracious to all the people who supported him and helped him in this. I think we're going to, you know, this has got to be a very excited but very tired person. He was out late last night campaigning. He probably hasn't had a wink of sleep in a week. He's got to be exhausted. But boy, what a comeback this is.
This is going to be an extended, potentially, round of applause and a standing ovation here as the music comes down and the chant. USA in the West Palm Beach Convention Center. There is a massive crowd there tonight. Let's listen live to Donald Trump.
Of friends in this incredible movement. This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before. And Frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country and maybe beyond. And now it's going to reach a new level of importance because we're going to help our country. Needs help, and it needs help very badly. We're going to. We made history for a reason tonight, and the reason is going to be just that. We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy? But it's a political victory that our country has never seen before, nothing like this. I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president. And to every citizen, I will fight for you, for your family, and your future. Every single day, I will be fighting for you. And with every breath in my body, I will not rest until we have delivered the strong, safe, and prosperous America that our children deserve and that you deserve. This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have. This is a magnificent victory for the American people that will allow us to make America great again. And in addition to having won the battleground states of North Carolina, I love these places, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, we are now winning in Michigan, Arizona, Nevada, and Alaska, which would result in us carrying at least 315 electoral votes. But it's much easier doing what the networks did or whoever called it, because there was no other path. There was no other path to victory. We also have won the popular vote. That was great. I was proud of that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Winning the popular vote was very nice, I will tell you. It's a great feeling of love. We have a great feeling of love in this very large room with unbelievable people standing by my side. These people have been incredible. They've made the journey with me, and we're going to make you very happy. We're going to make you very proud of your vote. I hope that you're going to be looking back someday and say that was one of the truly important moments of my life when I voted for this group of people beyond the president, this group of great people. America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate. We have taken back control of the Senate. Wow, that's good. And the Senate races in Montana, Nevada, Texas, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, were all won by the MAGA movement. They helped so much. And in those cases, every one of them, we worked with the senators. They were tough races, and I mean, the number of victories in the Senate was absolutely incredible. And we did tele-rallies. We did tele-rallies with each one of them. And sometimes we did 2 or 3 and it was amazing to look at all of those victories. Nobody expected that, nobody. So I just wanted to thank you very much for that. And you have some great senators and some great new senators. And it also looks like we'll be keeping control of the House of Representatives. And I want to thank Mike Johnson. I think he's doing a terrific job. Terrific job. I want to also thank my beautiful wife, Melania, First Lady. Who has the #1 best-selling book in the country. Can you believe that? Yeah. Oh, no, she's done a great job. Works very hard to help people. So I just want to thank her. But I want to thank my whole family, my amazing children, and they are amazing children. And we all think our children are amazing. Everybody here thinks their children are amazing. But that's a good thing when you think they are. But Don, Eric, Ivanka, Tiffany, Barron, there's Laura, Jared, Kimberly, Michael, thank you all. What a help. What a great. My father-in-law, Victor, is tremendous. And we miss very much Melania's mother, Amalia. We miss Amalia, don't we? Huh? She would be very happy right now, standing on this stage. She'd be so proud. She was a great woman, that one. Beautiful inside and out. She was a great woman. I want to be the first to congratulate our great, now I can say, Vice President-elect of the United States, J.D. Vance. And his absolutely remarkable and beautiful wife, Usha Vance. And he's a feisty guy, isn't he? You know, I've said, go into the enemy camp. And you know, the enemy camp is certain networks. And a lot of people don't like to, sir, do I have to do that? He just goes, okay. Which one? CNN, MSDNC? He'll say, all right, thank you very much. He actually looks like, he's like the only guy I've ever seen. He really looks forward to it. And then he just goes and absolutely obliterates it. Say a couple of words here.
Well, Mr. President, I appreciate you allowing me to join you on this incredible journey. I thank you for the trust that you placed in me. And I think that we just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America. And under President Trump's leadership, we're never going to stop fighting for you, for your dreams, for the future of your children. And after the greatest political comeback in American history, we're going to lead the greatest economic comeback in American history under Donald Trump's leadership.
Thank you very much. He's turned out to be a good choice. I took a little heat at the beginning, but he was, I knew the brain was a good one, about as good as it gets. And we love the family, and we're going to have a great 4 years, and we're going to turn our country around, make it something very special. It lost that little thing called special. We have to make it so. We're going to make this so great. It's the greatest country and potentially the greatest country in the world by far. And right now we're going to just work very hard to get all of that back. We're going to make it the best it's ever been. We can do that. If we had to wait longer, I don't know. It was going bad, and it was going bad fast. We're going to have to seal up those borders, and we're going to have to let people come into our country. We want people to come back in. but we have to let them come back in, but they have to come in legally. They have to come in legally. Let me also express my tremendous appreciation for Susie and Chris, the job you did. Susie, come here. Come here, Susie. Chris, come here, Chris. Susie likes to stay sort of in the back, let me tell you. The ice thing, we call it the ice thing. Come here, Chris. Come here, Chris. Susie likes to stay in the background. She's not in the background. Come here, Susie.
This was unexpected, but I just want to thank, obviously, President Trump for this journey. It was a great one, and he's a hell of a candidate. He's going to be a hell of a great 47th president. And this team that we had, the best team, and of course, even my boss, Susie Wiles, the best. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Susie. Look at this, she's shot. I've never seen her be shot before. Susie. They're great. Everybody up here is great. Everybody up here is very special. But the Trump, who did you say? Oh, let me tell you, we have a new star. A star is born, Elon. No, he is. No, he's an amazing guy. We were sitting together tonight. He spent 2 weeks in Philadelphia and different parts of Pennsylvania campaigning. He sent the rocket up 2 weeks ago, and I saw that rocket, and I saw it coming down. I saw it. When it left, it was beautiful, shiny white. When it came down, it didn't look so pretty. It was going 10,000 miles an hour, and it was burning like hell. I said, "What happened to your paint job?" He said, "We've never made a paint that could withstand that kind of heat." And but I saw it come down and turn around, and it was, it's like 22 stories tall, by the way. It looks a little smaller than that, but it's big. And it came down, and you saw that fire burning. And I'm saying, only Elon can do this. It must be an Elon. And I told the story. I told it last night. I had a man on the phone. I had the screen muted, no sound. I was talking to a very important man, happens to be here. And that very important guy, one of the most important people in, I would say, the country, actually. But, I was president, and now it looks like I was going to be maybe president again. So I figured I could ask him to hold. So I asked him to hold. And especially because you're going to be president again, they hold. So I took the phone down, and I'm looking at the screen. I'm seeing this crazy thing that's going around and coming down. It looks like it's going to crash into the gantry. And I said, "Oh, no." And I said, "Do me a favor, do you mind holding for a couple of minutes? I want to see this." I thought it was a space age movie or something. I put the phone down, but I didn't pick it up for 45 minutes, and he was holding. But this spaceship came down, and I saw those engines firing, and it looked like it was over. It was going to smash. And then I saw the fire pour out from the left side, and I put it straight. And it came down so gently, and then it wrapped those arms around it, and it held it. And just like you hold your baby at night, your little baby. And it was a beautiful thing to see. And I called Elon. I said, "Elon, was that you?" He said, "Yes, it was." I said, "Who else can do that? Can Russia do it? No. Can China do it? No. Can the United States do it other than you? No, nobody can do that." I said, "That's why I love you, Elon. That's great." And when we had the tragic Hurricane Helene, and it hit, in particular, hit North Carolina, they were really devastated. The water, this was a big water, as big as we've ever seen, water hurricane. It built lakes out of nothing. Fields became lakes, and the danger was unbelievable. And the people from North Carolina came to me and they said, "Would it be possible, at all possible, for you to speak to Elon Musk? We need Starlink." I said, "What's Starlink?" "It's a form of communication." So I called Elon, and I'll tell you what he had, and it was very dangerous. People would die. They had no communication. All the wires were down. I called Elon Musk. I said, "Elon, you have something called Starlink. Is that right?" "Yes, I do." "What the hell is it?" He said, "It's a communication system that's very good." I said, Elon, they need it really, really badly in North Carolina. Can you get it? He had that there so fast. It was incredible. So, and it was great. It saved a lot of lives. He saved a lot of lives. But he's a character. He's a special guy. He's a super genius. We have to protect our geniuses. We don't have that many of them. We have to protect our super geniuses. I want to thank some of the guys. You know, we have up here today the U.S. Open champion. He's fantastic. Albert, slightly longer than me. It's a ball, a little bit longer than me. Just a little bit. Bryson DeChambeau is up here someplace. What happened to Bryson? Where is he? Bryson. Oh, he was shot. He's hitting balls. Oh, he's on the way. He's hitting balls. Bryson. Oh, look at him. He's got a great career going. Great U.S. Open, Bryson. That's a fantastic job. And we also have Dana White, who has done some job. He's a tough guy. So Dana started UFC and came to me, do you mind if I use your, nobody wanted to give him Marines because they said it's a rough sport, a little rough. And I helped him out a little bit, and I went, and they said, this is the roughest sport I've ever seen, but I began to like it, and he loved it, and nobody's done a better job in sports. And you know, he's a very motivational kind of a guy, what he does. He gets these fighters, and they really go at it, and it's become one of the most successful sports enterprises anywhere at any time. It's doing so well. I'd like to ask Dana just to say a couple of words because people love to hear from him.
Nobody deserves this more than him, and nobody deserves this more than his family does. This is what happens when the machine comes after you. What you've seen over the last several years, this is what it looks like. Couldn't stop him. He keeps going forward. He doesn't quit. He's the most resilient, hardworking man I've ever met in my life. His family are incredible people. This is karma, ladies and gentlemen. He deserves this. They deserve it as a family. I want to thank some people real quick. I want to thank the Nelt boys, Aiden Ross, Theo Vaughn, also with the boys, and last but not least, the mighty and powerful Joe Rogan. And thank you, America. Thank you. Have a good night.
That is a piece of work. No, he's really an amazing guy. But most of all, I want to thank the millions of hardworking Americans across the nation who have always been the heart and soul of this really great movement. We've been through so much together, and today you showed up in record numbers to deliver a victory like really, I'd probably like no other. This was something special, and we're gonna pay you back. We're gonna do the best job. We're gonna turn it around. It's got to be turned around. It's got to be turned around fast, and we're gonna turn it around. We're gonna do it in every way, with so many ways, but we're gonna do it in every way. This will forever be remembered as the day the American people regained control of their country. So I just want to say that on behalf of this great group of people, these are hardworking people. These are fantastic people, and we can add a few names like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He came in, and he's going to help make America healthy again. And now he's a great guy, and he really means it. He wants to do some things, and we're going to let him go to it. I just said, but Bobby, leave the oil to me. We have more liquid gold, oil and gas. We have more liquid gold than any country in the world, more than Saudi Arabia. We have more than Russia. Bobby, stay away from the liquid gold. Other than that, Go have a good time, Bobby. We're going to be paying down debt. We're going to be reducing taxes. We can do things that nobody else can do. Nobody else is going to be able to do it. China doesn't have what we have. Nobody has what we have. But we have the greatest people also. Maybe that's the most important thing. This campaign has been so historic in so many ways. We've built the biggest, the broadest, the most unified coalition. They've never seen anything like it in all of American history. They've never seen it. Young and old, men and women, rural and urban. And we had them all helping us tonight. When you think, I mean, I was looking at it, I was watching it. They had some great analysis of the people that voted for us. Nobody's ever seen anything like that. They came from all quarters, union, non-union, African American, Hispanic American. We had everybody, and it was beautiful. It was a historic around a common core of common sense. We want to have borders. We want to have security. We want to have things be good, safe. We want great education. We want a strong and powerful. No wars. 4 years we had no wars, except we defeated ISIS in record time. But we had no wars. They said, he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. But this is also a massive victory for democracy and for freedom. Together, we're going to unlock America's glorious today. We're going to achieve the most incredible future for our people. Yesterday, as I stood at my last stop on the campaign trail, I'll never be doing a rally again. Can you believe it? I think we've done 900 rallies approximately from them. Can you imagine? 901 something, a lot of rallies. And it was sad. Everybody was sad. Many people, I said, this is our last rally. But now we're going on to something that's far more important, because the rallies were used for us to be put in this position where we can really help our country. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make our country better than it ever has been. And I said that many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. And that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness. And now we are going to fulfill that mission together. We're going to fulfill that mission. The task before us will not be easy, but I will bring every ounce of energy, spirit, and fight that I have in my soul to the job that you've entrusted to me. This is a great job. There's no job like this. This is the most important job in the world. Just as I did in my first term, we had a great first term, a great first term. I will govern by a simple motto: promises made, promises kept. We're going to keep our promises. Nothing will stop me from keeping my word to you, the people. We will make America safe, strong, prosperous, powerful, and free again. And I'm asking every citizen all across our land to join me in this noble and righteous endeavor. That's what it is. It's time to put the divisions of the past 4 years behind us. It's time to unite. And we're going to try. We have to try. And it's going to happen. Success will bring us together. I've seen that. I saw that in the first term. When we became more and more successful, people started coming together. Success is going to bring us together, and we are going to start by all putting America first. We have to put our country first for at least a period of time. We have to fix it, because together we can truly make America great again for all Americans. So I want to just tell you what a great honor this is. I want to thank you. I will not let you down. America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than it has ever been before. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Republican Republican candidate Donald Trump addressing his supporters in West Palm Beach, Florida. Donald Trump thanking those supporters for what he says was his being elected president. That hasn't technically happened yet. 267 electoral votes have been called for him. He needs 270 to win. He could take any remaining state on the board to get over that threshold. Meantime, Kamala Harris has just 224 electoral votes. At this time, with still some states left to be called, Donald Trump is also winning the popular vote. And he says America has given him a, quote, unprecedented mandate. We want to go now live into the room in West Palm Beach, Florida, where Bloomberg's Tyler Kendall is joining us live at Trump HQ on what has turned into an election morning, nearly 3 a.m. on the East Coast. Tyler, what is the energy like in the room?
Yeah, hey, Kelly, former President Donald Trump declaring a victory as he is poised to become that 47th president of the United States. But as you mentioned, it hasn't quite happened yet. The energy in this room is incredible. You have all of his supporters cheering him on as it intensifies in here, as well as in his VIP section. We saw Elon Musk as well as Dana White invited up on stage. Former President Trump started his remarks by calling this the, quote, greatest political movement of all time that will, quote, reach a new level of importance to help our country heal. Importantly, I want to point out that he also spoke about how Republicans have taken back the Senate. That is going to be absolutely critical to any candidate's agenda going forward, but perhaps particularly for former President Trump when it comes to his economic policies, as he has put forward a litany of tax proposals that will need to get through the new Congress. He also called out all of the battleground states so far that have officially gone to him for their total helping, saying that that is what ultimately propelled him today. But he did his signature weave, hitting many issues, including immigration, also taking shots at various news organizations. I will quickly add that he did invite up his vice presidential candidate, J.D. Vance, onto the stage. Our Bloomberg News viewers might know him first as a venture capitalist and a member of the Senate Banking Committee. He did seem to hone in on one of the Trump campaign's main messages, which is this idea of an economic resurgence. We know, Kaylee and Joe, throughout this whole campaign, the economy was the number one issue for U.S. voters.
You said it, Tyler Kendall, with us from Trump HQ in Florida tonight. Thank you. I suspect that party is going to go on for a while as we bring our panel back in for their thoughts on what we have just seen and heard. Rick Davis and Jeannie Shanzano are still with us at now the 3 o'clock hour on the East Coast. Pretty remarkable to see a victory speech like that, including the head of the UFC, among others, called to the podium. He was on the script. He was off the script, Rick. To think that we're getting this done tonight, though, is pretty remarkable. But many folks thought we'd still be talking about this next week.
That's right. I don't think anybody would have anticipated that within 12 hours of the polls closing in the East Coast, we'd have an election declaration by one of the candidates and uncontested by his opponent, Kamala Harris. We've heard nothing from her, no congratulations or concession otherwise. So
important to note that.
Yeah, we've moved along, and I think that that's sort of the idea of American politics now is you go out, you declare victory, and it looks like the numbers are all going to add up for him. He's going to have a big night. He looks like a potential clean sweep of the 7 targeted states that we started with 2 years ago and have now decided Donald Trump will be the 47th president of the United States.
Incredible. And of course, it's not just those here in the U.S. that are watching this. The world is watching this, Jeannie, and beginning to chime in, including the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, whose office just put out a statement on X. Dear Donald and Melania Trump, congratulations on history's greatest comeback. He says your historic return to the White House offers a new beginning for America and a powerful recommitment to the great alliance between Israel and America. There are many domestic policy implications to consider with the results of this vote, Jeannie, but foreign policy as well.
Foreign policy, certainly. And, it is a fraught time in the world. So, obviously what is going on in the Middle East, what has happened in Israel and on the Gaza Strip. We know that Donald Trump was close to Benjamin Netanyahu. They had a slight sort of break, if you will, after Benjamin Netanyahu congratulated Joe Biden on his win in 2020, but they seem to have patched that up. But certainly what's going on in Israel is at top of mind. Also, we need to look at Europe. I think everybody in Ukraine has got to be wondering what happens now. U.S. funding, U.S. support for the war, that is all up in question. All members of NATO have got to be concerned. We've also got President Trump talking about the word he loves more than anything, which is tariffs. He has said he will put very, very large tariffs, not just on China, but on Europe, on Mexico. The list is long. We don't know if he will fulfill that. So there is a lot, I think, of open questions around the world. I think we're going to hear more congratulations to him once he officially gets to 270. But I also think there's a lot of concern around the world about what this means as the United States changes hands once again, going back to Donald Trump.
Well, we are hearing from at least one member of NATO, Emmanuel Macron of France, congratulating Donald Trump on the election win. Viktor Orban of Hungary, the biggest comeback in U.S. political history. Congratulations to President Trump on his enormous win, a much-needed victory for the world. You made an interesting point earlier, though, Rick. This has not been officially called, but there has been no word from the Democratic nominee. Should Kamala Harris be issuing a statement tonight?
Yeah, sure. I think that maybe they're waiting for an official AP declaration of victory, but it's all but in the books at this stage.
It's got to have been written, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the Harris campaign is probably in a state of shock. It's very hard to get over a stunning loss like this. She had a lot of momentum. She was very excited about the prospects of changing history. And I think that the reality, though, is they need to overcome that. They need to move on. They need to try to solidify the country around a new president. And as difficult as that may seem, and unfortunately having been in that position many times in my past, it's really important to the political system that we have this kind of change. And you don't want to get too bollocksed up on the technicalities. Donald Trump's going to win. She knows it, and her campaign knows it, and they should address it.
Well, and we'll see when they do so. For all of the time Kamala Harris spent on the campaign trail talking about Donald Trump's unwillingness to accept the results of the 2020 election, we'll see how she accepts the results of this 2024 election. For all of the conversation, Rick, that has been had, first with Joe Biden, then with Kamala Harris, about what they described as Donald Trump posing a threat to democracy, as being unfit to serve, someone who wouldn't abide by the Constitution. The American electorate, everything is showing us, has still chosen him. He will perhaps not just win the Electoral College, but the popular vote as well. What does this teach us about where America is right now?
Yeah, look, I think that they're not buying that, characterization of Donald Trump. I think you have to rely on the institutions that we have that make our democracy strong, and know that even under threat they'll stand. And look, I mean, I think we have to wait and see how Donald Trump approaches the presidency, and you can sort of trust but verify in this case. We don't know what his approach is going to be to the rule of law and these kinds of things, because we've seen all sides of him, right? And so given time, we'll learn more as we go along. But I think that when you look at the results of this election, you look at the widespread support that he got, that is beyond what he got in 2020. The Ohio River Valley has now become a bastion of Trump support. Southern Florida, Dade County, a county that went with Joe Biden in 2020, overwhelmingly for Donald Trump this cycle. I mean, everywhere you look, there's improvement by the Trump coalition in adding votes to his tally. And as you described, to the point where he's actually overcome a Democratic dominance in modern presidential campaigns of the popular vote to looking like he's going to wind up winning the popular vote too. So it's something we have to deal with, and I think we have to step off from this point on and realize that if you believe that you've been promoting the peaceful transition of power, it has to come with the package that we've got on the election night tonight, and that's Donald Trump.
I'd love your thoughts on this, Jeannie, as the nation puts 2020 behind it. January 6th, stop the steal. Does the Democratic Party need to move on and signal that to voters?
I think they absolutely do. I don't think we could ever forget what happened on January 6th. It's critically important that we think about ourselves as one people and what has happened. So I don't mean we should move on from it in that way. But I do think that the Democratic Party is going to have to try to figure out how it goes and appeals to coalitions that it has long served, that seem to be, it's still got a robust following, but that seem to have been looking for something else. And I think, as we look at the numbers, the number of people who say that the United States is moving in the wrong direction, the number of people dissatisfied with the direction of the country, that is problematic. And so I think we all have to consider that. And I do think that was a hard sell on the democracy front from Biden and then Harris, primarily because the American people saw Donald Trump as president and they knew he hadn't acted in a way that destroyed the country. And so they didn't seem to buy that argument. And so from that perspective, they do have to move on. But to Rick's point, we also have to make sure that Donald Trump, how he approaches the office and issues of law and order are critically important.
Well, and there is a reason that there are checks and balances in the U.S. government that goes across the different branches, one of which, of course, is the legislative branch. We do not know yet at this hour who will win the House of Representatives. We do know, Jeannie, that Republicans will control the Senate. The question is going to be the majority. We know it will be at least 51 to 49. But in the blue wall states, one of which, Pennsylvania, has now been called for Donald Trump, in each of them, the Republican candidate is leading the Democrat right now. What difference would a 54 Republican majority Senate mean over a 51?
Every vote counts and every vote matters. So that would be very, very important. Traditionally, that filibuster. And so you would need to get to 60. But the closer you are, if they can pull over some Democrats, it could help them do that. So, of course, for Republicans, that would be important. And, we've been living the last few years with such a narrowly divided Senate in which one person like a Joe Manchin from West Virginia can make such a difference. So really, really important for the Republicans to try to get there. And obviously Democrats would like to hold Casey where he is right now, but we're going to have to wait and see if that happens.
Jeannie Shanzano and Rick Davis, having heard the victory speech from Donald Trump live here on Bloomberg, let's get a check on market reaction now as well. Having just heard from the former president, here's Bloomberg's Valerie Title. Valerie?
Good morning from London. As Trump was speaking, we had U.S. equity futures hit all-time highs. We are continuing to see a good outperformance when it comes to the Russell 2000 index. That's the index of small caps. It reached a near 5% level as Trump was speaking. And then flipping to FX, the Bloomberg Dollar Index is still trading very strong this morning. And if we take a look especially at tariff-exposed currencies, I'm thinking of the euro, of dollar MEX, of dollar CNH, the Chinese yuan. Those have all taken quite a beating so far in this session. Now, it was notable that in Trump's speech that we just heard, he did not express any language when it comes to tariffs. So we haven't seen necessarily these currencies weakening any further, but they are still at session lows. Back to you.
All right, Bloomberg's Valerie Titel in London. Thank you so much. As we continue to view the reaction across the world, across the markets and the political sphere alike, we want to return now to Florida, where we just heard Donald Trump speaking from at his election night now morning headquarters in West Palm Beach. Bloomberg's Tyler Kendall is still there. Tyler, obviously, there were a ton of supporters in that room, Donald Trump himself, members of his family, but also some other familiar faces. And I wonder how we should view the roles of some of those people that were there with him on that stage and what role they may take in a future second Trump administration.
Right, exactly, Kaylee. Bloomberg News reporting that there's already starting to be some jockeying in a potential Trump administration. We know that he spoke about this idea that Republicans have taken over the Senate. That is going to be critical, not only to his agenda, but also for confirming cabinet members and critical personnel. There's over 3,000 open roles that he is going to have to fill in a new administration. We know that he called out Elon Musk, gave him a big thank you, not even 15 15 minutes into the speech, so very high up, thanking him for his support. Musk has pledged billions of dollars to help get former President Donald Trump elected, as well as other Republican allies. He's formally talked about this desire to help the government cut down on fiscal waste and spending. Whether or not that position would actually come to fruition, we haven't gotten concrete details on that yet. He also called out RFK and his health policies. Now, Howard Lutnick of the Trump transition team has said that RFK is not in the running for HHS secretary, but we'd have to see if he would come on maybe in some sort of advisory role. So we're looking at some of these key advisors, these key political backers, and how they might play a role in a future Trump administration.
Tyler, there's a lot of people behind you there still. I believe the candidate has left the building. You can correct me if I'm wrong. What are we doing at 3 o'clock in the morning? This party continues?
That is a good question. Actually, the media is going to have to get out of here soon. We're starting to see people flow out of West Palm Beach Convention Center, but the mood in here is still pretty elevated. You can probably hear the music is up pretty loudly. We're seeing Make America Great hats scattered all around as his supporters do start to celebrate and think about what is going to happen tomorrow as we get the certified results in and we look ahead to what a future Trump administration could look like.
Well, yeah, as we consider what that could look like, we know, Tyler, that ultimately the shape of policy could be defined just as much by Congress as the presidency. We had a leader in Congress, House Speaker Mike Johnson, up there on the stage with Donald Trump this evening, as well as Donald Trump talked about what he wants to do with the country in a second term. There is a reality check that we should keep in mind this evening.
Right, exactly. And Bloomberg News actually one of the first to report that House Speaker Mike Johnson was coming from Louisiana here to Palm Beach on this early expectation of optimism that Republicans were going to do well tonight. We've been talking all night. Joan Kelly, you have been covering how critical these down ballot races are and this idea of whether or not we will get a divided government, because in any new administration, any legislation, any agenda does need Congress's buy-in. And I had mentioned former President Donald Trump's litany of tax cuts and incentives, particularly when it comes to the corporate tax rate and his pledges around that. When that new Congress is elected and in session back in January, we are gearing up for what is expected to be a potential tax fight as they overhaul the code. Former President Donald Trump has said that he wants to see his 2017 tax cuts extended, as well as other changes to the corporate tax rate and some personal tax incentives that we'll be paying close attention to.
All right, Tyler Kendall, thank you. In West Palm Beach, Florida, where we just heard from Donald Trump and saw many of his family and supporters up on the stage, we want to reassemble our political panel as we're just helping us to understand some of the things that have transpired over the course of this evening. We just got a congratulatory note from Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky. This is something that we were talking about a bit earlier, the way that he would interpret this news and what it would mean for Ukraine's war effort with Russia. I will be honest, we've spoken with a number of officials from Ukraine who've been very careful, Poland as well, about what they said about Donald Trump, knowing that he may well win the presidency. Rick, what does it mean for the future of Ukraine in this effort?
Yeah, I don't think we know for sure. Sometimes Donald Trump's rhetoric doesn't really match where members of the Senate would tell me, don't listen to what he said. And there is an inconsistency there. So I think it doesn't take much to realize that there's a majority in Congress that supports Ukraine, and he's going to have to pick his fights. I doubt if he'll want to fight them all. And I think this is one that he'll obviously put some effort into trying to find a peaceful solution to the conflict. If that's rebuked by either the Ukrainians or the Russians or both, then he's going to have to deal with the issues on supporting NATO and the European response to this. I think we've seen a buildup by the European NATO countries in support of Ukraine, with the expectation that something like this could happen, and they'd want to make sure NATO was fully funding Ukraine war effort before this election's happened. So there's been some hedging, and I think we'll see what happens next.
Well, in the interest of hedging, I would just point out it isn't yet official.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has not crossed the 270 threshold it takes to win the Electoral College. He is still at 267 electoral votes. Any remaining state on the board, if he wins it, he will get to the number required to win the presidency. So it does feel, Jeannie, like right now it is only a matter of time. As we consider that, though, to the point Rick was just making, watch what he does. There is a difference between trying to win a job and what you do once you're actually in it. How should we be considering that tonight for Donald Trump?
Yeah, I mean, he made a lot of promises on the campaign trail. I was just listening to you talk about Ukraine. I mean, what did Donald Trump say? He said he would end that war on day one. And so we will have to watch and see what he has in store, because when he's been asked and pressed, even from friendly interviewers, he has said he couldn't reveal how he was going to do that because he didn't want to give it away. So now, if he indeed, to Kaylee's point, does have the job and is inaugurated in January, how does he end this war between Ukraine and Russia on day one? And that's a promise he's made in so many areas as we think about what is going on in the world. He has said repeatedly that when he was president, there was not this kind of chaos as he describes it and the wars going on in the world. So, is he able to, live up to his promise of peace and prosperity in the world once he gets here? And if so, how? So we're going to have to just watch and see, because it is a very different thing to promise on the campaign trail and to deliver when you're in office.
Oh, true. Jeannie and Rick, thank you so much. Great analysis here. The opening trade is up next. We'll have a lot more to follow here. Special election coverage 2024 on Bloomberg TV and radio.
Jumpstart your trading day on Bloomberg Open Interest.
2 hours of single stock stories that are driving the opening bell action. We'll take you to Wall Street, Main Street, the C-suite, and beyond.
These are companies that are growing their market.
The great companies in the U.S. are the companies hitting the cutting edge. That's a different story.
Get the inside track on what's buzzing in markets
with the players who are shaping the narrative. If you have bad earnings reports, you're going to get punished.
They're not buying what the industry is selling. Join us on Bloomberg Open Interest, weekdays at 9 a.m. Eastern, only on Bloomberg.
Join me each week on Wall Street Week for stories of capitalism from business, markets, economics, tech, and climate. More than what you need to know, it's what you need to think about.
As we spend some time here on the broader presidential race.
Let's focus in on European politics. Makes you wonder how politics might play out.
It's the world's second largest economy with a growing influence in global affairs. But geopolitical uncertainties, deflationary pressures, and questions about foreign investment linger. Bloomberg, the China Show, brings you the unmatched expertise you need to keep track of breaking news, in-depth market analysis, and the most influential newsmakers in and around China. Bloomberg, the China Show. Weekdays around the world, right here on Bloomberg. Context changes everything. Bloomberg has the Fed decision under surveillance with the fastest coverage and exclusive analysis, including Powell's press conference. Nobody covers the Fed like Bloomberg.
I'm Professor Hannah Fry, mathematician and writer. In this series, I will meet the companies, people, and pioneers transforming the world. It's like the Jetsons meets the Flintstones. Whatever future you dream of, if it affects us, I will explore it. The future is coming.
Get your fixed income fix. Watch Bloomberg Real Yield every Friday right here on Bloomberg. Context changes everything.
Welcome back to special extended coverage of the 2024 election on Bloomberg TV and radio, live from global headquarters in New York. I'm Kaylee Lyons alongside Joe Matthew. It is nearly 3:20 a.m. Eastern time on the East Coast. And we do seem that we are tracking toward a final result here. The Electoral College, as it stands now, 224 votes for Kamala Harris, 267 for Donald Trump. The threshold required to win the presidency, 270. Donald Trump only needs to pick up one more state, Joe, no matter where it is, that would secure him the victory.
That's absolutely right. It's not official yet, but it could happen at any moment. Of course, you'll learn when it does happen here on Bloomberg TV and radio. It has not kept Donald Trump from declaring victory, though, and many congratulations now coming from around the world, Kaylee. Of course, the markets, the financial markets, had been moving in this direction since long before the first state was called. We saw the reaction around 7:30 p.m. Eastern time as investors thought Trump was the winner.
Yeah, and certainly you're seeing global leaders react as if he is officially the Prime Minister of the UK. Keir Starmer congratulating Trump on his election win, as has the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Of course, the one person we haven't heard from, well, there's many, but one in particular we haven't heard from at this time is Vice President Kamala Harris. So let's bring in now from Washington, D.C., Bloomberg's Mike Shepard. Washington, of course, where Kamala Harris was spending her evening. Mike, she chose not to address supporters. Do we have any idea when we can expect to hear from her?
Kaylee, it's a great question, and we don't yet have a sense of timing. Her campaign co-chair spoke to reporters and supporters who were gathered at Howard University a couple of hours ago to say that she would be coming out sometime later this morning, but we don't really have a sense of timing. And by later this morning, it really sounded like it would be daylight hours. And they're going to have to think about how they regroup and how they message this, not only to their supporters who worked so hard to try to get her elected, but also to the nation, which really experienced a tumultuous, chaotic, and divisive at times campaign, and how the party will regroup going forward, but also look to work with the incoming administration.
So what's tomorrow going to look like in Washington, Shep? You've seen a couple of these happen before. There are a lot of supporters of Kamala Harris who went to Howard University this evening and waited around for hours, only to be told to go home, that she would not be speaking this evening. There's going to have to be a series of events, assuming this is made official between now and sunrise, a series of events starting in the morning that are coming from Harris HQ.
Well, in a way, this is a reprise of what we went through in 2016, when it became clear in the overnight hours that Donald Trump was going to prevail over Hillary Clinton. And in the same way, there was that first sense of shock and disbelief and disappointment that rumbled through the Democratic Party and the Clinton campaign. We're sort of seeing that same moment of angst right now with the Harris campaign, but they will have to pick themselves up and message it, as Rick was indicating in one of the earlier segments, that they, as the party of trying to promote a peaceful transition and transfer of power, they're going to have to walk the walk in addition to talking the talk, in terms of handing the reins of power from President Joe Biden over to Donald Trump in an orderly and respectful fashion, which is different than what we all remember having taken place under Trump in 2020.
Well, as we consider what took place in 2020 and then into January 2021, I guess we'll have to wait and see whether or not we get any kind of repeat of that this time around. Mike, we've been discussing this with Rick and Jeannie. We've talked extensively about the potential for a lot of litigation in the aftermath of the result. But with the way things are tracking now, is it likely that those lawsuits trying to change this outcome in the courts is something that's really going to happen?
You know, the Democratic Party may try, and they had mobilized well ahead of time, just like the Republican Party had done as well, an army of lawyers prepared to contest any sort of irregularity that they may run into. But looking at the margins that we're seeing in a number of these states, it's going to be very difficult to mass a case that would collect enough votes that could reverse any one of these results. The other thing I think we'll want to watch out for is, will there be any trouble on the ground as a result of this? And we did see after Trump's first victory in 2016 and around his inauguration in early 2017, some trouble in downtown Washington. There were protests, there were a few windows broken here and there. And as you remember, before leaving for New York, they were boarding up some of the storefronts in our neighborhood here in downtown Washington around our office. But it's unclear whether any of that will happen. And if there is a gracious outreach from the Harris campaign toward the Trump camp, we may see something calmer and less of the unrest that many people have been fearing.
No shortage of fencing and plywood going up in the nation's capital ahead of this election. Mike Shepard in Washington, D.C. Thank you, sir, for staying up so late with us. Rick Davis and Jeannie Shanzano now with some final thoughts. We've been through a lot together here. I don't know what your thoughts are on tomorrow. We'll see if this is officially called tonight. Does Kamala Harris need to schedule something first thing in the morning?
I think she does. Once the results come in, she should schedule it. I suspect we may hear from her, just a guess, around 10 or 11 a.m. tomorrow. I think it is fair for her to wait until these results come in. But once they do, she's going to have to come out and say some words to her supporters and concede the race. And Mike is absolutely right. There, at least at this point, these margins don't seem close enough for her to contest. If they are, she has every legal right to challenge them. But at this point, we haven't heard anything of that sort.
Well, so Rick, as we close out at least our coverage here from New York for the day, which has stretched well into the early hours of Wednesday, what is your final thought on the way this has all gone down?
Yeah, I think that we should plan not to ever be surprised in politics again. This has been one of the most tumultuous, campaigns over time. Incredible twists and turns, things that we never even imagined would enter into a presidential campaign. And I'd say I think we're just as surprised by the outcome of tonight. And so I think this is sort of the new politics of the American democracy. Is that you can't really expect or anticipate what's going to happen next. I think pollsters are all election. We knew there was a polling error somewhere in there. We found it was probably the same as 2020. A couple points for Donald Trump. And that was the point I think we were making at the very beginning of the night, is that just 2 points any given way in a landslide. And that's what we saw tonight.
You've been saying that all along, Jeannie. What's the pollster inside you thinking right now?
Yeah, I think we have to go back and we're going to have to look at these models that we've been using. The non-response bias is a big problem, but I think we're also going to have to think about what this campaign teaches us about money in politics. Kamala Harris outraised and outspent Donald Trump by large amounts and did not win. And of course, Rick and I spent a lot of time talking about the ground game. Kamala Harris had an enormous ground game. Donald Trump outsourced to Elon Musk and Turning Point USA. Yeah. It was unclear whether that would be successful, but boy, these results
to be the smartest move of the campaign
turned out to be enormously important and helpful for him. So a lot, I think, to reflect on as we go forward about how this really does change the game. Yeah. And this is the comeback of the century, if not beyond. I mean, wow, what a victory for Donald Trump.
That's the Democrat talking. Rick Davis, Jeannie Shanzano, thank you so much. Happy election day after, Kaylee. The markets are moving.
Yeah, they certainly are. The victory is not official yet, and yet we are seeing trading acting as if it is such. S&P 500 futures up 2 percentage points. Russell 2000 futures, small caps, are roaring up 5.3%. We're seeing a big move in treasuries as well. The 10-year yield up 13 basis points to just shy of 4.4. The dollar is stronger. The peso and the euro are weaker. It is incredible as financial markets and the world as a whole has watched what has gone down on this election day. Thank you for sticking with us through the long haul here on Bloomberg TV and radio. The Electoral College, as it stands right now, 224 for Kamala Harris, 267 for Donald Trump. He is on the cusp of clinching the 270 he needs to win the presidency.
You said it. We'll meet you back here at high noon. on this day Eastern Time. With Kaylee Lines, I'm Joe Matthew on Bloomberg TV and radio. All